Hello, everyone, and welcome to another riveting edition of Public Speaking. We are on week 7. So this is our halfway point because we're 14 weeks. So, yeah, we are at the halfway point, which is insane, but adds up. We've already had 2 speeches done. We have 2 speeches to go, and I am super excited for upcoming speech, and I'll talk about that more today. But so last week we did our informative speeches, and all of those should be graded. Grades should be in the grade book already with your feedback. I wanted to emphasize for this speech specifically that just because you got a bad grade, or I don't want to say bad grade, that's not the words I want to use. Just because your grade was lower than you wanted does not mean you had a bad speech. The way the rubric was, right? We have those emphasized skills. So each speech, there's something new I want you to work on and focus on. Because, right, yes, 100% every speech, I can grade everything equally. And it could make sense, but think about if you're growing from each thing, it's kind of hard to, okay, I need to fix my organization and my transitions and my intro and my delivery and my body language and my voice and my nervous. Like it's just so much to work on at one time. So that's why I have the rubric the way it is, so that it, number one, grows with you and your speeches and difficulty, as well as the skills I want you that has the most weight. I want you to focus heavily on those. So if you didn't have great citations, or you didn't have any, or you didn't have the 4 citations I asked of you, right? If your delivery wasn't on par, then your grade is going to take a big hit. Not because you didn't organize your speech well, or um your voice could be great, but then your body language, right, wasn't there. You were not facing the audience, you were looking at the ceiling and not giving eye contact. There's all these different things. So I just want you to think, just because this grade was maybe lower than you thought, I want you to go through that rubric and really see, okay, where did I miss? Because a lot of people, the rest of the rubric, right, they got their intro, they got their main points. Like you got all those things. It's your citations and your delivery, right? Also, if you didn't set up your introduction um as solid, hitting all those things, that also took a big hit because it was either a yes or it was a no, right? You either had it or you didn't, which I'm trying to teach y'all that those introductions are so, so, so important with laying down that foundation for your speech. And that's why it was like you either had your main points stated clearly or you didn't. You previewed your points or you didn't. You established credibility or you didn't. It was a yes or a no. So that also took a big hit because those were 5 points each too. So okay, that's just my little spiel. I want you to think about that. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, concerns about those speeches, please email me. I will be happy, happy, happy to meet with you, talk with you further, go over your rubric, all the things. Also, this is just a reminder for y'all to remind me. I think when I say things out loud, I probably won't forget, but last time I totally did, and I do not want to this time. But peer evals. Next class, I need to hand them back because your demo one, that totally left my brain. So someone remind me if I don't already have them out. Okay, let's get started. Today we're going to talk about using language well, and then go over your Monroe's motivated sequence, or MMS. So this is the organization pattern that we'll be using for a pitch speech. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Then I'll assign your pitch speech, we'll review, go over assignments. So let's get straight into wording your speech. This is insanely important. I know we've touched on different kind of words and the words we select, and specifically when we were talking about our audience, but this is kind of even further in there, why we choose the words we choose and the power they have. There was this research done by these two lawyers where they showed two groups of video of a car accident. For one group, they used the word, how fast was this car going when it smashed into the other car? Where the other group, they said, how fast do you think the car was going when it hit the other car? The group where they used the word smash had reported significantly faster than the group that heard the word hit. And even the group that heard the word smash reported like, oh yeah, and there was glass all over the place when there wasn't glass at all in the video. But both groups, they saw the exact same video. It's just the language. It was one word, one single word that they changed. And the way each group reported showed significant differences in how people perceived something they saw visually, right? This shows that lawyers, right, can use words to kind of manipulate and push people to say things in a certain way, right? That is crazy powerful. That's crazy scary, especially when we're thinking about ethics. But oh my goodness. Another example of, right, words being powerful and important. Think of just like advertising and trying to sell stuff. Like a company will use like quick, easy, improved, now, suddenly, amazing, sale. They use all these like little words that like catch our attention. So then we like focus on it or we're like, oh, we're getting a great deal. Bro, the amount of times I've been like, oh my gosh, look at this deal we're getting. And it's literally just people raising their prices and then marking it down. But because it's marked down, it feels like it's a good deal. Ridiculous. Or freaking like greenwashing. I don't know if y'all are familiar with like companies who quote unquote greenwash, which basically they make themselves look more green and organic and safe and naturey, all the things when they're not at all. They just like look that way, or they use words that they like Nature's Valley. I'm hating on Nature's Valley. I don't know. Uh, I don't feel like they are very naturey, but you know what I'm saying, right? Or freaking Cliff Bar. A Cliff Bar, you know how much sugar's in a Cliff Bar? Oh my God. Anyways, I digress. Um, Another insane example was so there was this fish called the trash fish. No one could sell it because no one was gonna eat something called a freaking trash fish. Are you joking? So someone changed its name to the Chilean sea bass. Mind you, not even found off the coast of Chile at all. But now you go to a restaurant and get a Chilean sea bass, and it's one of those market price fish. But before it was a trash fish no one wanted, but just because they changed the name, it changed its prestige. It changed our perspective and our perception of this fish. Is that crazy? Anyways, so the power of words, right? If words are used responsibly, a speaker can keep listeners awake and interested. If used irresponsibly, they can deceive audiences, distort facts, and avoid the truth. Remember, like we talked about with the trash fish, the Chilean sea bass, sorry, with the lawyers and the two groups, right? It really shows the power of words in those two scenarios. So let's talk about finding the right words. So December 7th, 1941. I bet some of y'all this is familiar with, especially our history gurus or our girlies who just remember history class because it wasn't that long ago. But this is after Pearl Harbor and Roosevelt gave a speech. So the first thing he wrote down was December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in world history. So he wrote that down. Then after he looked at it and he crossed out world history and wrote this, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. This is literally an iconic American history quote, right? What is the difference? Think about this. What is the difference between these two sayings, right? He could have easily said this, a date which will live in world history, but it wouldn't have been as iconic. And why? Because this word infamy has this such emotional and distinct and maybe negative's the word, but powerful like attachment to it, right? World history is just a neutral term, right? A date which will live in world history, okay. But a date which will live in infamy, that's something we have to listen to, right? If someone called something infamous, right, that's bad. That's bad. So it gives that negative connotation of like, this is emotional, this is important, this is powerful. And that's why this quote will live in world history, right? But if it was this quote, it probably wouldn't, which is so fascinating. So finding the right words is such an important aspect of your speech and making a message, because that's the whole goal of your speech is to create that message, to to inspire an audience, to draw an audience, to call them to action, to do something. You're speaking to lead your audience with something, whether it's information, move them to do something, whatever it is. And finding the right words will help that. So let's talk about using appropriate words. We touched on this when it came to talking about audience, but let's go over this again. So using gender neutral terms. So again, think about your audience. It'll be a mixed audience 100%. Stay away from language that reflects gender bias stereotypes, like saying male nurse versus just nurse, female soldier versus just soldier, right? Using these terms can kind of tell an audience like, make them feel alienated, make them feel like, oh, does this person feel a type of way? And we don't want, when we're making a message, we don't want people drawing conclusions or spectating or just assuming things about you as a speaker that might not even be true just because you chose words that might not be appropriate, right? Next is avoiding gender biased pronoun usage, right? So he, she, I think the easiest way to go, use those plural nouns. There, they. For example, all drivers should buckle their seatbelts before they start driving. Say you're mixed audience and you say all drivers should buckle his seatbelts before he starts driving around, right? The women in the audience might be like, huh? Like, why did they say he? Did they mean something by that? You could literally just have chosen a word and not thought about it, right? Like with no connotation. But someone out there might be questioning why you chose those words. So keeping it there, they, super easy. And then next, using the pronoun you, right? Don't be specific, just do a general. I'm talking to you in the audience. Whenever you get behind the wheel, you should buckle your seatbelt before starting your engine. Easy peasy. Stick with they, their, you. Stay neutral, stay talking to every single person in the audience, right? Next is using accurate words. So this is talking about denotation versus connotation. So denotation is talking about the definition term. So whatever the like the little definition meaning, that's the denotative meaning. Connotation is the figurative or non-literal meaning of a word. So here, right, it has denotation or its dictionary definition. Red rose is a red flower borne by a thorny shrub, where connotation would be a red rose is the symbol of love and desire. Another good one is baggage. If I'm talking about dictionary definition, I said, hey, they have a lot of baggage. I'm like, oh, I gotta go help them bring it up the stairs into their room because they got a lot going on. Where connotation, if I say, oh, they got a lot of baggage, I'm like, they got too much emotional baggage for me. I don't know if I can date them. I don't know if I can be friends with them. See how it's the same exact word, but depending on what meaning I mean, changes it, right? That's why using accurate words is so important in a speech because using it in the wrong way or using words that can be both connotative and denotative can be confusing to audience members. Especially, remember, we all have different perspectives and frames of references of why we think the way we do, and our experiences have led us to feel the way we do and view things the way that we do. So make sure you're making these clear and not confusing them. Next is achieving clarity. So we broke this down into three. So the first one is using simple words. So this is what a pretentious speaker may say. From time immemorial, human beings have used their tongues to apply salivary secretions to heal a contusion, and medical researchers have ascertained that the procedure may indeed be efficacious. Where an audience-centered speaker might just say, licking a wound, a technique used by humans for centuries, may actually promote healing according to medical researchers. If you're an audience member, which one do you want to hear? Exactly. Like I said, pretend your audience members are 5-year-olds. Keep it simple, keep it clear. Again, and I'll say this over and over again, we don't have captions below us. We don't have your manuscript. We don't have your outline. Keep it simple. Next is using concrete words. So think of abstract versus concrete. So some examples. If I say she is wealthy, that's a very abstract. Why is that abstract? Again, back to that perceptions of your audience may be completely different. Someone's wealthy might be a very different to someone else's wealthy, right? Someone buying a house that is $200,000 and is 2 stories and they have a dog and they live in a good neighborhood, that might be someone's wealthy. Another person's wealthy might be literally, I have a mansion on the lake in, I was about to say in California, but I don't think they have lakes. On the beach in California, and I go to Nobu every day, right? There's very different definitions of wealthy. So let's be concrete. She makes $600,000 a year. She has a winter home in San Diego and a summer home in Switzerland and owns 4 sports cars. right? This is the type of wealthy she is. And that helps explain and show your audience what you mean. Another example, it was a stormy day. That's very abstract. Paint that picture of what it looks like, exactly what you're talking about. The sky was gray and gloomy and cold. Moist winds stung my face. We can see it. We know exactly what that looked like. See, a stormy day, I might have thought like lightning and thunder, but that's not what we explained as concrete. We just said gray and gloomy and cold and moist wind, right? I might have thought thunder and giant rain hitting me, right? But that's completely different than what I actually meant. Well, we get the gist of this, but right? It's almost this idea of show us, don't tell us. Don't tell us that she's wealthy. Show us how she's wealthy. Don't tell us that it was a stormy day. Show us it was a stormy day. So keep those words concrete. Next is using precise words. So, for example, they say that too much salt is bad for you. Okay, who is they? Researchers at Johns Hopkins University found that too much salt in one's diet can cause whatever. They say, who said it? The researchers. Too much salt is bad for you. What do you mean by bad? Right? And goes into that. Be precise as you can. Don't say, some of us in our informative speeches, we had some generalizations where like all of us probably do this, but we didn't back it up with anything. Or we just said that thing or something like that, like just not being specific. So using those precise words is very important. Achieve that clarity with using simple words, concrete words, and precise words. So let's move on to using vivid language. So first one we'll talk about is imagery. So this is precise and descriptive words that create images. And I wanted to find this part. You can find his whole speech. It's like 16 minutes, I think, but I just needed this passage. But so this is Barack Obama's speech at the 2004 Democratic Convention. And I'll read this to you. Will I say to them tonight, there's not a liberal America and a conservative America. There's the United States of America. There's not a Black America and white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America. The pundits like to slice and dice our country into red states and blue states. Red states for Republicans, blue states for Democrats. But I've got news for them too. We worship an awesome God in the blue states, and we don't like federal agents poking around our libraries in the red states. We coach Little League in the blue states and have gay friends in the red states. There are patriots who opposed the war in Iraq and patriots who supported it. We are one people, all of us pledging allegiance to the stars and stripes, all of us defending the United States of America. So what Obama was trying to do here, right? He paints this picture, he uses kind of stereotypes from both the red and the blue and switches it of like, even in the blue states, we do this. Even in the red states, we do this, or we like this, or we don't like this. He's showing that we are a lot more similar than we think we are. He didn't have to call out each type of America. Literally, he could have made this whole thing into one sentence and said, we are a United States of America. We are one together, right? He could have literally just said that. But instead of telling us that we are one people, we should come together, whatever, he painted this picture of why we are one, right? There's all these different subsects of who we are, but at the end of the day, we are the United States of America, right? We are not just red states and blue states. We are just people living life and doing our best and doing the things we love and spending time with our friends. Like we are the same. And he shows that through these examples. And literally, people say that this speech was so successful, it made him from like this small Illinois senator that no one really knew to kind of catapulting him to being someone important and someone people looked at. And people say because of the speech, that's why he became president, which is super interesting. Okay, next with using vivid language, metaphors and simile. Metaphors, a phrase or word that ordinarily describes one thing, is used to describe another. Or a simile, same as metaphor, but you add like or as. So remember metaphors. See, after high school, I get them confused sometimes. Metaphors is you're saying this is literally this thing, where simile is like this is like this thing. So, for example, a panic attack is like the brakes going out while driving a speeding car. You know you're skidding off the road, but you have no way of stopping. Remember we talked about like so this is a simile because it has the like and we're comparing a panic attack to driving a speeding car. Right? We're doing this because we're trying to relate to the audience. If they've never had a panic attack before, we're showing them, okay, there's a high chance you have been driving a speeding car, or you've seen a movie of someone doing that, and you can imagine how scary that is. That can help you understand what a panic attack is. Remember, we talked about using examples of kind of if I'm talking about something maybe a little bit more unfamiliar, then using something more familiar to relate it to can help our audience understand us better. And those metaphors and similes help that a lot. I'm a glorified taxi driver for my household. Drop one kid off at baseball, another kid to dance rehearsal, and the other kid to a birthday party. And I don't even get a tip, right? Metaphor. As the storm intensifies, the clasp of thunder shook the earth like a meteor crashing to the ground, right? This paints the picture that literally these clasps of thunder were so intense. We can imagine what a meteor crashing to the ground would be like. It would be super intense, it'd be loud, very Lilo and Stitch vibes, very killing the dinosaur vibes. So it shows how intense that is. So that's why using vivid language, super helpful with painting that picture for your audience. Next is using rhetorical devices. So we have a couple of them. So our first one is an alliteration. So this is the use of successive words that begin with the same consonant sound. So for example, baby boomers, Coca-Cola, Mad Men, Final Four, and Peter Pan. Using these, it's literally like, think about like probably why Coca-Cola is so like successful is because you can remember it. I don't know if I said it in this class, but one thing from my job, my last job that was actually the worst, but I did take some wisdom from it, was that it is not the best that gets the job. It's who's the most known, right? You don't have to be the best, or you can be the best, but if no one knows your name, no one knows how to get in contact with you, you're not going to get any business. That's what these people did, right? Final Four, Peter Pan, baby boomers, like all these words we remember, and it's probably because it's an alliteration. So you can use this in your speech to help your audience remember. For example, we need to help the hungry and homeless. Hungry and homeless, it just sounds good together because it's that alliteration. Okay, next is the antithesis, which is sharply contrasting ideas are juxtaposed in a balanced structure. So, for example, he has cold hands but a warm heart. We have that cold and that warm juxtaposed from each other, but they work together to push a point and create that idea, that main point you're trying to make. And the most popular one is this: ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, right? They're complete opposites of each other, but because they are, it drills that point of don't do this in this super emotional, hard-hitting fashion. Next is parallel structures and repetition. We kind of touched on this, I think, when we talked about outlining. But some examples are, we want a government of the people, by the people, for the people, right? We have that parallel structure going on. We need parents who will praise honest efforts, punish bad behavior, and ignore inconsequential acts. And then that repetition. I try to be a good dad, but sometimes I fail. I try to be a good dad, but sometimes I lose my kids in the grocery store. I try to be a good dad, but sometimes I accidentally cuss in front of them. I try to be a good dad, but sometimes I pretend I'm asleep when they're asking me questions. I try to be a good dad, but oftentimes I fail, right? Because there's this repetition, sorry guys, I thought my dog was about to bust in the door. Um, it, number one, helps us remember. Two, it gets the point across of what they're trying to say. And three, because look, but oftentimes I fail. We show them how they fail and then hit it again with I fail. Right? Repeating this hits the message like it I cannot think of words right now. This is why I can't do this at night. I have to do this in the daytime. But I repeat, oh my gosh, now I lost my train of thought. Okay. By repeating it, there's like a term I want to use, but I cannot remember. Hit the message home? Send the message home? I can't think of it. Y'all are probably yelling at me through the screen per usual of what the real word is, but you get what I'm saying. Makes that message solid. Hits it home. Oh my gosh, that's not the word. Let's move on before I lose it. Okay. But that is parallel structure and repetition. Now we have oral versus written language. So, right, oral language requires more elaboration and repetition than written language. Okay, so what I want you to do, take 5 seconds and read this quote to yourself in your head. Okay, we read it and it sounded great. It sounded good. Now let me read it exactly how it is written. Do not look back in anger or forward in fear, but around in awareness. James Thurber. That doesn't really sound as great as it did in our heads. So let's, right, use that more elaboration and repetition than written language. As James Thurber advises, do not look back in anger or forward in fear, but around in awareness. Boom, right? I added that pizzazz. That sounded like the way I read it here. Right? Words are just words. The way you say them is going to change everything, right? if you, every person can have your same script, your same speech, your same topic, but if you are reading it just like this, how I did, you're not really delivering that message. Where this will deliver that message every single time. Remember, again, speaking it is so much different than writing it, right? People write beautiful books and novels, but oh, this could be for my audiobook girlies. Have you had a narrator that just did not do it? Like, it's the same book. If you read it to yourself, you would probably enjoy it, but the narrator just ruins it for you. It's because it's completely different. It's a completely different experience. So keep this in mind when you're writing and remembering why delivering these words are so important. So, talking about wording your speech, all of these things, the main point is to make it memorable for your audience. That's all it is. And at the end of the day, that is your one goal, is to make sure your audience knows your message when they leave, right? Or you didn't do your job. So now that we talked about wording our speech and how important it is, now I want us to go over our Monroe's and Motivated sequence, which, like I said, is the organization pattern we are using for our pitch speech. So let's get into it. So our MMS sequence is attention, need, satisfaction, visualization, and action. So what I want to start with first is, right, this does not look like our outlines we've had before. If it makes you feel any better, I'm going to break this down into what we're familiar with. And maybe that'll help y'all not kind of wig out. So, our attention, think of that as your intro. Your need, your satisfaction, your visualization, that's the body of your speech. Then think of your action as your conclusion. Okay? So this may look very different, very off than what you're used to, but it really is a lot simpler and aligned with what we've been doing than you think it is. So remember, attention is your intro, your need, your satisfaction, visualization is the body, and your action is your conclusion. So let's get into each one of these. I want you to take notes. On Wednesday, we'll go and review this all over again. And then we will go over and put these into practice. I will say it seems simple, but I will say this, I've had the most issues with people or with my students. And I think it's because, right, we go from our outline that we're kind of used to, and hitting every single one of these gets a little difficult. And it really is, don't overthink it. Literally, do what I tell you to do, fill in these, and you will kill it. You will do great, I promise. So our first one's attention. We already know how to do this. We've done our attention grabbers. Get your audience's attention. Boom. Your need. So you need to draw on the needs of your specific audience. What is their problem? What are their issues? And I want you to literally find their pain point and press into it. You need to, this is your time, like this is a persuasive speech. You are digging into there to bring out those emotions so they are like, oh, dang, I do have a problem, right? Feed on that. Like truly push on that Because your audience may not even think they have an issue or have a problem, and I want you to dig it up for them. Once you've dug up their problem and your audience is now like, oh, dang, okay, I do have an issue going on. What do I do now? Boom. Now satisfaction. Now you satisfy those needs or that problem. So think of if you made a list of all these different like, are you tired? Are you sleepy? Are you fatigued? Are you overworked? If you brought on all these needs, talk about how you're satisfying each need, right? And with that satisfaction, tell us everything we need to know about your product, about your um club, about your event. Tell us everything we need to know about it. Think of, right, this is your like those infomercials that like, have you ever, and it's like black and white, and then it's like no need to, like it's like the egg that's like stuck on the pan, and then it's like, don't let this be you. You need the egg pan 500. And then it's like colorful. And then the satisfaction just tells you every single thing you need to know with this blah, blah, blah technology and just putting it on this any stove, turning up the heat and using any blah, blah, blah. You can do X, Y, and Z, right? Tell us everything we need to know about what you're satisfying, how to use it, what to do, all of the things. Once we satisfied that need, which this will probably be the biggest chunk of your speech, go into visualization. I think your need and your satisfaction would be the biggest chunks. Now we go into visualization. So, what does life look like with your solution? What does life look like without your solution? Right? Is it now that you satisfied or now that you've accepted or you bought my product, look, your life could look all rainbows and butterflies and sunshine. But without it, rain, thunder, fire, what a horrible life you'll live without my product. That's it. Then, in conclusion, our action, urge the audience to take action. What do you need your audience to do? Now that you've told them how you can satisfy them, what their life will look like, what do they need to do to satisfy it? Do they need to sign a petition? Do they need to give you money? Do they need to buy this product? Do they need to join a club? What do they need to do to satisfy these needs of theirs? Boom. And that's it. You get their attention. You push on that pain point, that need of your audience, draw that out of them, tell them how you can satisfy that need or problem, show them what life looks like with and without your solution, and then how can they take action? This is literally what your outline will look like. Attention, boom. Need, boom. Satisfaction, boom. Visualization, boom. Action, boom. These are your main points in this scenario. Got it? Okay, here's an example. I really built this one out. So this topic is why you should take a public speaking course over an English course at Lone Star. Imagine this. Your knees are shaking, your palms are sweaty, and your heart is pounding. You want to run, but you can't. You're standing in front of a room of people just staring at you, waiting for you to talk, but the words just won't come out. I know multiple of you have stood in front of a classroom, deer in the headlights, terrified of speaking publicly. We have probably given dozens of presentations in the classroom and have always been relieved when it was over. But don't think after you finish school that the presentations will stop. Now your audience will become your coworkers and your boss. Because taking Oh, because I was like, what? Because talking publicly will never leave your life, you might as well be perfected. That's why I urge y'all to take a Speech 1315 class next semester. In 16 weeks, you will learn all the different types of speeches, how to evaluate other speeches, how to research, and most importantly, minimize your anxiety when it comes to public speaking. Life with taking Speech 1315 is Life without taking Speech 1315 is a constant heart pounding, excruciating experience, and you're scared to take any chances. Life with Speech 1315, you can graduate college confident, charismatic, and ready to take on your new life and career. So, if you want your future public speaking experience to look like that, talk to your advisor about signing up for Speech 1315. Of course, this is the literal minimal thing ever, but I just wanted you to see an example of what you can do. Yours is going to look way better than this because this is just all I could fit on the PowerPoint slide. But, right, building that out, build out that satisfaction, everything we need to know, build out those needs, hit that pain point. And that's all you got to do. It really is simple. Again, don't overthink it. This is your intro. Need, satisfaction, visualization. Those are your body points, main point 1, 2, and 3. And your action is your conclusion. So the same things we've been doing, just looks a little different organization-wise. Okay. Again, I said we will be going over this again. In class, we'll do a review. I actually have a video, so someone else will explain it to you. So hopefully we have different perspectives and it'll click. And we'll do a group thing analyzing different MMS patterns and successful ones and bad ones. So by this week, we will know how to do MMS, Monroe's Motivated Sequence, and be pros in it and be able to choose our topic and get the process going. Okay. So now that we have talked about this, hold on. Let's see if it'll. Boom. Okay, perfect. We're 14. Now let's assign your pitch speech. We're going on D2 well, we're going to content. Sit here, I'll add that, but under week 10, we got our pitch speech. Okay, so what I love about the pitch speech is it is, hold on, let me change this time. It is closest to kind of our real world application, right? A lot of us probably won't do some TED Talk uninformed, like a demo speech, or we may not, but if you are still questioning whether or not you are getting something out of this, you will apply this in your future, your pitch speech 100% will. In life, a lot of people are go, go, go. They're like, okay, pitch me why you should get this job. Tell me why I should give you this project. Tell me why you would be good at blah, 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 right? In 2 to 4 minutes, we are learning how to pitch something. And that, I think, is an amazing skill, 1000%. We see it every day, and it's important to be able not to only do, right, a 3 to 5 minute speech, but also a condensed summary 2 to 4 in a persuasive manner, right? So this needs to be something from your imagination. So this can't already be real. I want you to come up with something from the noggin. For example, a cruise for Lone Star students, a backpack that senses when you're out of school supplies, a petition to have free ice cream on campus, or a new club on campus. But truly, you can do anything you want. It must, one, not be a thing already, and two, something that requires the audience to give you something in exchange. A signature, maybe you have like a QR code and we go to a website that we need to sign up for blah, blah, blah. A form, you can literally print out like pretend forms and be like, you need to fill out this form, da 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 da. The world's your oyster, but your call to action has to have us give you something. So this will be done in a job fair style. So we will go around the room and you can look at each other's presentations and ask questions. And in this, we will have visual aids. You will need them. You will either need a trifold or use a slideshow on like Google Slides or whatever. You bring your laptop. The only thing with the laptop is that I've had people bring their laptop and it's about to die, or it doesn't turn on, or it's being janky, and then that takes away from the speech. Remember, you only have 2 to 4 minutes to make a good first impression, and that's all you're going to get. So just be wary of what you do. Just make sure you take all the precautions, and make sure everything's working. So, um, what do we need to know? Oh, so on that day, it's going to be 2 to 4 minutes. Have your visual aid. You're using the MMS pattern. You will have 3 note cards, front only. And then again, outline turned in before 9 a.m. on speech day. More insight into what this will look like. Literally, we'll take all the desks and I'm going to put them around the room, around the walls. And everyone's going to set it up on each table. And we're going to do it kind of how we've been doing it. Remember, we've done like half and half. So half is going to have their posters up while the other half goes around the room and does peer evals. So you're basically the whole time, you're going to be talking over and over and over again. So what I'll probably do is we'll do one session. I'm not grading, and I have everyone gets to practice with a peer evaluator. Then I'll go around the room and I'll have my little clipboard with my rubric, and you'll do your pitch for me live. And I'll say, thank you so much, and I'll move on. And then there might be someone behind me, and you might have to do the thing again. So that's how we're going to do it. Once I get through all of those, then I'll say, okay, let's switch. The next group puts their trifolds up, puts their laptop, and we do the same thing over again. So very job fair, career fair style, which I'm excited about. But y'all killed that demo. Remember you did the mini demo speech, and y'all were really creative and very like, I don't know, you were super pitchy in that one. So I think y'all are gonna kill this. So that is our pitch speech. Write down any questions you may have that I didn't clarify here, and we can go over that on Wednesday. So now that I have gone over our lecture on wording and using language well, our Monroe's motivated sequence, and assign your pitch speech. Now let's get into our assignments. So our assignments for the week, we have a quiz 7 and 8. So one's going to be on language, one's going to be on MMS. Let me think. Actually, yeah, that's true, because I want to make sure we get all 15 quizzes by the end of the semester. So perfect. Pitch speech. First thing we should be thinking about is our topic. This is a big thing you can bring up next class if you're stuck on anything, but truly think about this week just learning MMS and making sure you got it. But again, this is the order. Pick your topic, complete your outline, make your visual aid. And then now we have two out of class challenges you can do, the practice log, and then schedule a coaching session with me, which again, just email me a good time and date. We can Zoom, we can meet in person, whatever you desire. So thank you, crew. I appreciate y'all's time. Can't wait to see you on Wednesday. We'll work further through our MMS. I'll pass back your peer evals. We'll talk a little bit about what we learned for our informative speeches, and then do our MMS activity. So, see ya later, alligators. Goodbye.